Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we're back again with another Real 50 Over 50 interview. And today, I'm very excited to introduce you to Susan Dabbar. She is the founder and editor-in-chief of Provoked Magazine, a bold, unapologetic media brand created for women who are nowhere near done. Tens of thousands of women have already joined its growing community, drawn to Provoke's mission to spark the conversations that shift culture, torch stereotypes, and turn aging into raw power. Here, women over 50 are celebrated the autonomy, personal, financial, and professional, um, just like where they want to go and what they command. At the heart of it all is Susan herself, a lifelong reinventor whose journey spans from designing nuclear submarines as a naval architect to shaping global brands at Disney and Nestle, to the world of professional poker and entrepreneurship. Through Provoked, Susan and her band of seasoned editors and writers are rewriting the narrative on aging, showing us that it's not a decline, but a declaration of autonomy, ambition, and agency. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Donna. I'm so excited to be here today with you.
I'm excited too, because we're doing a lot of the same things from different sides of the coin.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. Where do you want to start first? I mean, there's just so much that we can cover.
Well, I mean, let's start on how you go from being a nuclear architect to running a very bold women's magazine.
Well,
What was
so
the hangover that brought you there?
there you go. Well, that's a great story. Let's see, how do I condense it? Well, first of all, I've been, that's happened over 4 decades, right? And I was one of those young girls that was wired to, enter probably a STEM, math and science, analytics field.
Mhm,
And I was very lucky that my mother kind of directed me, even though she didn't have that opportunity. She had the wisdom to know to kind of direct me towards that. And I ended up studying engineering and majoring in naval architecture, and graduated. And this was back in the very early 80s. But that really laid a foundation for me. And I met my husband there, who has also been pivotal in supporting me and kind of championing this amazing 4 decades run that I've had, because he's not a risk taker, and I am. I have an insatiable
mhm,
appetite for change. I live for it. I love risk. I'm a high roller, which probably made me a good poker player, and
mhm.
so I've had 7 businesses that I've launched in the last 4 decades that I've exited 6 pretty successfully. And when I turned 60, which was now 5 years ago, I I just sold my last business, which is an educational consulting business. And I took about 2 years to figure out, like, if I had one really good act left, that where I could make an impact and do something at scale, which I had never done before, what would that be? And I did a lot of searching and a lot of soul searching and
Mm,
to talk to some of my mentors. And I landed on media because what I found was that, women our age weren't really, there was almost no serious scaled
yeah.
media companies.
We could
And
sit
more,
here and talk eyeshadow,
yeah.
but that's about it.
And more importantly, companies run by us, about us. We can name the legacy. There's, AARP with the
Mhm,
Ethel.
mhm.
My friends aren't going to read the Ethel. They're not. They just think they're too cool for the Ethel, right? There's nothing sexy
I
about it.
tried, I tried.
And I mean, I've tried too. I mean, they're trying, but they have that huge brand image legacy thing to get over, right? Where it's like the AARP is, everybody thinks of that as like retired, and where you go to, wear a beige
Yeah,
cardigan and
yeah,
retire.
and wait, and just wait.
Yeah, and I would argue that the gap is not accidental, that it's structural, over time and the way legacy media has been built. And this is something, we could go on, all day about. But
Yeah,
what I'm trying to do at Provoked is build a newsroom mindset with a very point of view brand with multiple revenue lines that scales and that really brings, women 50 and up to the forefront and tells our stories in a real, authentic way, unapologetically, without permission. Uh, and, and Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's really so well done. I mean, from a branding perspective, it's beautiful. And from a content perspective, it's real writing. It's not fluff. It's really well done.
Well,
And
thank you. Yeah, that was one of our tenants when I launched. So I launched Provoked just about a year ago. I mean, officially, I launched maybe like 8 months ago, and I wrote the first 30 articles. So it was technically a one woman newsroom, but it was never supposed to be a one woman newsroom. It was always my vision that I was going to bring on accomplished writers, writers that had bylines in magazines that and publications that I respected. So I wrote a brief and I put it out in a Facebook group, a binders group, and I said, imagine if Bustle, Slate, and the Atlantic had a threesome. That's the writer that I'm looking for. No joke. And I thought I would be lucky if I got 30, resumes or, inquiries about it. I got 500.
wow.
That's how eager and how many talented, writers are out there.
Yeah,
And I read every one of those bios. I clicked on every one of those, links and read a whole lot of articles, some really good writing, some,
yeah,
more blog-esque.
yeah.
And that was a big distinction for me. There's nothing wrong with blogs and they're very useful. And
Mhm.
I've written blogs for years with various businesses, but I wanted this to be like a national publication level,
Yes.
and therefore I need to bring in different point of views and have writers that have that very editorial point of view, but
Mhm.
that are also willing to take me as a founder with a very clear vision on what Provoked is, to be able to take that editorial point of view and still honor their work, but
Mhm.
be able to kind of hammer that point of view. And that point of view really centers around two questions that I'm constantly needling my writers about. Why does this matter to women in midlife? And
Mhm.
why does it matter now? If you can't answer those two questions, then we're not publishing this.
Well, that's PR.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have been teaching PR for many, many, many years, and people were like, "Oh, I've got a new website." That's not PR. People have to like
Yeah.
there's got to be something to share. There's got to be something that people are going to care about, and nobody
Right.
cares about your new website.
Yeah.
Um, and there's so much noise right now. There's always been a lot of noise, but AI has really like, lifted the manhole cover and it's out there. There's like everything, just so much that we have to work our way through. And the only way to be heard through all of that is to create content that is felt before it's heard or seen.
Yeah, I think, and you and I have talked about that because
Yeah.
as companies that we're building and brands, and
Mm,
you're the real 50 over 50, and AI is great in work streams,
mhm,
but when it comes to writing, real content, as AI likes to say, without the fluff.
mhm,
If I see that one more time in like in an AI prompt,
mm,
that that's where it really matters, and that's why I think we're seeing the push also on social media, which I have to be involved in as I'm trying to launch this media, is founder, grounded in kind of a founder's vision and a founder's voice.
yeah,
And that's why, not one of the only reason I'm here today, but I think it's really important for women who are, in your audience and in our circles with their own ecosystems, that they show up and that they, as a founder. And I think that is going to separate us out for sure.
yeah, it definitely will. Um, and being willing to um, be honest and real and vulnerable and really understanding who your audience is, I think is it's always been important, but it's more important now than ever because, your audience isn't who ChatGPT tells you it is. You've got
No,
to
you're
know
right.
this, bring that
Yeah.
information. You're gonna use AI tools, you have to have that basic information of who you are, what you do, why you do it, and the impact that it makes. And you have to bring that to whatever AI tool that you're gonna use, and then challenge that tool to to be better. And it's not any different than working with people. Like if you're working with your
Yeah.
writers and your editors, you have to bring that same information to them. And I think people miss that because I actually had an exchange this morning with with Perplexity about this. Is like, how do we get past people just wanting to hit the easy button, because it's become really easy to do that.
Yeah.
And there is no easy button. There still is no easy
There
button.
is no easy button.
We
Yeah.
have to show up.
I think you make such a good point about knowing your audience. So we I consider Provoked a newsletter forward magazine. And what
Mm,
does that mean? It's a little bit of a hybrid. We lean heavily on our newsletter because our newsletter is intimate. That's how I get into your inbox. If
mhm,
you subscribe with us, which is free, and there'll always be free content, similar to like Substack. You get a
mhm,
newsletter, and right now our newsletters go out on Thursday morning, and
mhm,
you're allowing us to be in your inbox to say good morning. I write an opening letter. So when we send out that newsletter, and when you sign up with us, there's a survey that pops up, and it's only 5 questions. It's very simple, but it gives us a lot of information right away. So just in a few short months, I have tens of thousands of, survey analytics, if you will. And I know the age group of our women, the demographics, what states they're coming from, what topics they're most interested from kind of a drop down ranked in order, what topics that we're not covering that they're interested in us, adding on to our verticals, and anything else they want to tell us. And that has
mhm,
been a really valuable tool because we're going right to the source of the women that are, that we are resonating with and that are, that have signed up. And then we do constant feedback loops as well in other manners. And for us, I think that's really important. And while I share a lot of that data with our writers, sometimes our writers, I think in legacy media, outlets, it's not as intimate where they're not feeling the pangs of the audience, right? It's much later when that catches up to them, when their editor comes into their
mhm,
newsroom and says, we got to lay 10 people off because our, content isn't good enough, or we're whatever the case is. Whereas because I'm very founder driven and we're lean and mean, I'm able to pivot on a dime. I can add a vertical. I can cut back on, what two of my, lifestyle writers, and just shift the focus just a little bit to give what I've been told this week that my audience is looking for. And
mhm.
that's really valuable. And I think to stay viable today and stay one step ahead, I think it's really important.
It is, and it's not a one and done.
No.
It's something that you have to do continually, so you've got to build systems around this,
Yeah.
so it's
I mean,
part of what you do.
yeah, there's so much tech, and we've talked about that as well. It's when I first had this kind of audacious overconfidence, and launching this, thinking like, oh yeah, I'm just going to start a national magazine. I didn't realize, like, the writing I could get my head around, but the
Mhm.
tech that's involved, and actually there's a lot of tech around the newsletter business.
Yeah.
And I've learned a tremendous amount and probably made every single mistake. About 4 months ago, we had a complete tech meltdown, like meltdown, Google jail, like all
Yeah.
the worst of the worst,
Oh,
the
Google
worst of
jail.
the worst.
That's
And,
bad.
Gmail jail. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was the worst. We had a newsletter that just somehow bottomed out, and it just shut us down for it took about 6 weeks to crawl out of that hole. A lot of people didn't know it, but it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough. And moments like that, I go kind of into existential dread.
Mm,
I wake up in the morning like ready to battle another day, and I go to bed at night like, Susan, you need to examine your life choices.
mm.
What are you thinking here, and what are you doing? Because for me, this isn't a hobby. This isn't even a
No,
passion
no,
project. This
no.
is I am in this. I am Our teams are working really, really hard,
Yeah.
and we have a long-term plan here. And I'm bootstrapping it, and there's real money that's going into this. So um,
Everything takes longer than you think
yeah,
it will and
yeah,
costs more than you think it will.
yeah, yeah.
And with the newsletter thing, I've been, like, on the back end of some big teams over the years, and what a lot of people with big teams will often do is have, 2 different platforms that they're using for email. This way, if something happens with one, they can migrate things over
Yeah.
to the other.
I do have two actually, and that is absolutely the right way to do it. It was actually the secondary platform that actually caused the problem to my main domain, but we did get it sorted out. We had it sorted out in a couple of days, but it just kind of takes your breath away. And but we
Yes.
learned an awful lot as well. Deliverability is, not to get sidetracked, but deliverability, the ability to get into somebody's inbox today is, that's the bane of my existence right now. It's like, I have all these, beautiful women that, have opted in not once but
Mhm.
twice, sometimes three times, and they want to get our newsletter. And for whatever reason, we're going into their promos box or their spam
Mhm.
box. So it's a constant learning curve of how to get better at deliverability. And there's a lot to that. It's a whole
And
science
well,
unto
it
itself.
also it's never it's not static. It
No,
changes all
you're
the
absolutely
time.
right.
So
It
you
does.
have
The
to
rules
keep
change. Yeah.
yeah, you have to just keep
Yeah.
iterating as you go and
Yeah.
keeping up on how things
Yeah.
change. The same thing with social media too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of this, LinkedIn silencing the voices of women.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we've talked about that. I just did a reel on that. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. The kind of the fun, glamorous part to talk about is, oh, where do you get your inspiration and what are you writing about? And how's it like, what's it like to work with all these brilliant writers? And that's all awesome.
yeah,
But it's like any other business, it's the grind behind the scenes.
yeah,
It's getting it into finding the right audience and then getting them what they need, what they want, and
yeah.
what serves them and where they find value. If we print something, I'm using an archaic word, if we send something out into the world and you after you read it and you don't want to call your bestie or your daughter or your mom and say, like, holy crap, Donna, I just read this and like you have to read this. I'm
Yeah,
sending it to you right now. Or what do you think about this? I
yeah,
think this is absurd. I don't care what spectrum you're on. I want to evoke a reaction from our writing, right? That's what we're all about, which is why we have the name Provoked. We're here to poke and prod and provoke. We are here to challenge the norms. Um, we have a very distinct editorial point of view also when a piece comes in or I'm back and forth and we're brainstorming with a writer. We talk about three things, braiding three things together. And this is
mhm,
another like kind of a big part of our editorial point of view is I want you to braid a distinct point of view, hence your opinion as a woman writer, culture, a cultural tension point, and service, meaning that you're delivering something to the reader that they're going to take away and be able to use or, find valuable. So that's not easy. That requires
yeah,
intellectual flex, right? And again, some of my writers are like, they've written for other outlets that where it's a little more tame and you can write an article about, my new favorite hobby is knitting and, here's how I learned it. Not
mhm,
against that. I love to knit. I do
mhm,
knit and I use those kinds of articles, but
mhm,
that's not what Provoked is.
yeah,
Provoked is different. Why does it matter to women? Why does it matter right now? And there's a woman that wrote the article that's between the ages of 45 and 85 that cared deeply enough to write this because
mhm.
she had a distinct point of view. It was in her lane, and she was able to braid these three important things together. And that's really what's key and what makes us different. And that's why AI is hopefully not going to be able to come and replicate us.
It won't, it won't, it can't, it can't. I ask all the time, like, "What can't you do?" I ask the tools all the time, "Tell me the thing that you can't do because that's the thing I wanna do." I mean,
Yeah.
this is how I start my prompts. Be honest, don't blow smoke up my ass is one
Yeah.
that I use
Yeah.
all the
Yeah,
time.
I use that one too. It's like, I need an honest moment here. Like, don't give me this oh Susan, you're wonderful shit. I don't need
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I got
yeah.
plenty of that. I don't need that. I need the hard truth. Yeah. Have you ever asked Claude to roast you?
Yes. Yeah,
Those are fun.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done the drunk best friend, I've done the roasting, tell
It's
me the things that I don't know about myself.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. I kind of keep that one up. It's almost like wallpaper. Every so often when I'm having a moment or I go down, I obsess over something that's kind of ridiculous, like, the right color of purple on the
Mm.
background of an image. Don't start me on that. But I go back to that roast that I think it was Claude did, and there's a whole paragraph there about my obsessions, and it's like, good Lord Jesus, Susan, like you got to just let it go. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, I just really enjoy them so much.
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
have
like,
so much fun with them. It's brought this whole new dimension to everything that I do, and, but I'm in it. I don't it's not replacing me in any way, shape, or form. If it's not gonna take whatever it is that I'm doing and make it better, I'm not using it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. And we have definitely like writing rules, when I bring a writer
Mm,
on that, if I get a whiff, or a sniff out that they're using
mm,
AI, that's, obviously that's a big no-no. I pay all of my writers. I think that's a really important, um, that's not an option. I don't think it should be optional
mm,
for women that have platforms where other women are writing for them. I know that's not the case across the board. But for me, going into it right in the beginning, I was going, to pay my writers. We have several different ways that writers come in to us. We have our actual team of writers, of freelance writers, and they're on our masthead. And those are writers that are kind of have regular beats. They're either kind of in the life, or they're in travel or
mhm,
style or
mhm,
whatever. And then I have something that's been wildly popular, that I welcome, everybody that's listening today and that'll listen to this later on. It's called our Dear Reader program, and I named it Dear Reader because it's our readers are dear to us,
mhm,
and also it's a great beginning to like a letter, right? Dear Reader. And that's if you have a story to tell, and maybe it's just one story. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you're getting ready to launch a book. Maybe you're grieving over something, and you're just overwhelmed. Whatever it is, you can pitch us. And there's the pitch prompt is right on our homepage at the
mhm,
bottom of our feeder. And it turns out that we get 10 or 20 pitches a week, and it's become quite competitive, and
mhm,
so not everybody does get published, but we pick one or two of what I think will be the best ones that resonate with our audiences, and people that where the pitch is good enough where I can tell that they do have some writing chops,
mhm,
and we pay them a rate that would be a really good rate, as if they
mhm,
were one of our staff writers, and they go through our editing process just as if they were a professional writer. And
mhm.
I'm hoping that process is really interesting and great learning for them. And then we publish them, and they're all published under our Dear Reader section. And some of those articles have been the top articles for the week.
That's
They
amazing.
get the most comments. They're usually very personal stories,
Mhm.
and they really, really resonate with our audience. So I'm really thrilled with that. A, we're giving that opportunity, and B, that it's getting out there and people realize that we offer that opportunity.
I'm gonna include that in my Sunday edition of Real 50 Over 50 email that I send out.
Yeah, I would love that, because
Yeah,
we're like, our doors are open, and we just I love that program, and I see it having legs, and it's a great way to support, like I said, to support women and to pay women their worth to tell their stories, because it's all about the storytelling. That's how we learn and we live. We live through each other's stories.
yeah, and the thing is, like, once you're paid to write something, you have an entirely new value of the
Absolutely.
art of writing.
Yeah. It also
Value of your
validates you.
story, yeah.
I think well, besides, it builds some of the women, that a lot of the women that come into our audience, they're looking for recognition. They're looking to be visible. They want to be seen. We're used to feeling invisible, right? At our age, we all use that slogan, right? We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want a place where people will respect us. And being paid is the biggest way you can. I value you. I value you as an editor. I value you in this, like, kind of macro thing that I'm building enough to pay you because you matter. I
Yeah,
see you and you matter, and your words matter, and your story matters,
yeah.
not just to me and my team, but to the whole world.
Mhm.
And that's really powerful,
It's
really
incredibly
powerful.
powerful, and it is it's a defining moment for somebody that has never experienced that before.
Yeah, 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 I think so. So we weight, our dear reader pieces get weighted, the same as, as our, our kind of regular mainline, masthead writer
Mhm.
pieces. And they both bring different things to the table. And together it makes I think a really great, library of these stories and these, these topics that we're hitting. So
So now of all the let's stick with the Dear Reader for a moment. Of all of the Dear Reader stories that have come in, published or unpublished, what was the one that provoked you the most?
oh boy. Well, there's a couple of them. Mm, I don't know if I have like um we had um we had one about grief. Actually it was Gail's piece that where she realized she had to be strong for her mother as her mother was deteriorating and ill, and she thought that she had to be there and be the strong one and kind of lost herself in that process. And at the end of my mother's life, I was that person, and it really hit home for me. And I think it has hit home for a lot of us that where we're in that place in our life where we're losing a parent or we're caregiving for somebody and we lose ourselves and we think that we have to carry the world on our shoulders and that strength. And then when they're gone, how do you pick up and how do you move forward? And so her piece was very, very moving for me
Yeah.
and really hit home and really resonated.
It's also such a hard concept to really truly understand unless you've experienced it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. We get a lot of spicy pieces. We get pieces about sex and love and how we show up as a partner, coming out, estrangement. I mean, these dear readers are not holding back. They are hitting hard, hard subjects. And some of them have never shared, again, what they're writing about.
Yeah.
So it's been a really, again, we've been going about 4 months with this now, and it's I think this is going to be really kind of an incredible, like, column for us.
Yeah, I agree. I see it with these interviews that I do. I mean, there were so many instances where people have shared things that they just didn't expect to share,
Yeah.
and particularly when I was doing the panels. I did one panel where, like, out of nowhere, this woman that I barely knew, like, started off with her, like, sexual abuse when she was 7 years old, and we were all like, "Whoa, we
Yeah.
just guessed hello."
Wow. Yeah, that's like jumping right in. Yeah, yeah,
But it's amazing, and I think that these are the things that really, really will make a difference because so many people are out there, so many women are out there feeling
yeah,
alone and like they're the only ones going through this, and
yeah,
or how am I going to get out of this is a big one. Um,
yeah,
and just sharing stories of changing your life and changing your direction and reaching deeper into who you are to pull together all of those parts that we just kind of
yeah,
give away for one reason or another. It's just it's an incredible, from being on this side of the microphone or this side of the editorial table, it's just such an honor to be able to see, to be able to experience as somebody moves through that process.
yeah, yeah. It's very humbling as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really changed me,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm doing it on a much smaller scale than you are, but the way that I feel is this: if one of these interviews reaches one person that needs to hear it, it was worth the time and the effort to make it happen.
no, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we see that in our comments section. We've got, I'm very happy. At first, I was nervous when we first launched, and I was just writing, and we had an audience of 10 people, and they were friends and people that I forced to, subscribe. And then we grew to 70, and then it was 700. And then before I knew it, it was 7,000.
Yeah.
And now we're tens of thousands. But I love, you're building this incredible circle of women. You have such a deep bench, the women that you call forward and that you give a spotlight to. It's so important. And I know that Diana with the 333 Collective, where I think maybe we met or we crossed
Mhm.
over, and she does the similar kind of thing. And I'm just amazed at the talent and the breadth of the women and the networks that you guys are building. Um, but and this is something maybe we can, as we're ending here, we can talk about that. In a way, they're not closed loop systems, but the
Yeah.
stories, some of those stories, they stay sort of inside, and we walk out of those meetings and those get-togethers and we feel really good,
Yeah.
right? But, they can't motivate, or like they can't help us, scale and get our position and our stories like really out there. And I think that, a lot of the women, they're doing this important work. But my obsession with Provoked is, how do we make sure that the world knows, right? Not
Mhm.
just the 250 people that were at your retreat, or the
Mhm.
150 people that are on your Zoom call. How do we get the word out in a bigger way so that the advertisers see us, the people making policy see us, the
Mhm.
investors see us? That's that's what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
is take, your community and all these communities and have them funnel into, and I'm providing this, like, scaled platform, if you will, hopefully, that will enable to get, so we can get, the light does shift, and we can get the support and the money. We've got a big, we don't talk about politics unprovoked, but we talk about the patriarchy and feminism and women's rights all day long. We've got, elections coming up, this year, and then 2 more years, important elections. And it's really important that women our age, as we move into the great wealth transfer, and which we're going to be writing a foundational, like a whole block of articles about, stay tuned. And talk about how women 50 and over were the largest voting demographic and influential demographic bloc in the history of the planet. And yet
Yeah.
I'm struggling, not struggling, but
Yeah.
it's like, advertisers, hello, here we are. Like, look at us. Look, I've got your premium audience that are, they don't want to be sold to, but they want to be respected. And then maybe
Yes.
they'll buy something from you, right? If you show respect and you believe in them. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to build.
Yeah. Well, it's taking a different approach, and it's a combination of, connecting these smaller communities, so they're tighter together, not only just tight within each other, but tight together, and then finding those opportunities where there is a bigger voice, where somebody has a larger platform,
Yeah.
and allowing them to see you. And one of the things, I mean, I've been doing social media since before it came out. And you can't predict viral. So just always showing up as you, and then putting yourself in the
Yeah.
spaces where you want to be.
Yeah.
Let them find you.
Yeah, I'm not interested
Yeah,
in, I mean, sure,
yeah,
if we want to have a viral moment, I'm all
yeah,
about it, but
yeah,
that's not what I'm chasing at all.
yeah.
It's slow
No,
and
I don't think
steady.
I don't
Yeah,
think you're chasing viral,
slow
but
and steady,
just constantly putting yourself in the
showing up.
places
Yep.
where you know that they are,
Yeah.
and let them,
Yeah.
when you pitch, right away the hand goes up and it's like, why should I care, right?
Yep.
When somebody finds you, it's like, oh my God, why didn't I know about this person?
Yeah.
So it's all about creating that opportunity for them to find you.
Yeah. Yeah, scaled media changes how we're seen, and that's what I'm after. And
Yeah.
where we're seen is where the money goes.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about money for me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
That's not
No,
even,
I know
it's
exactly what you're talking about.
the big money. The
Yeah.
money for women's facilities and women's rights, and all the things that we want to
On
talk
a
about,
systemic
and
level.
all the systemic things that women need and we need in this country. and in the world.
In the world,
Yeah,
yeah.
my audience is actually international. So yes, in the world. So, um, I'm gonna. This is my last big hurrah, and I am giving it everything I've got. Some 40 years of entrepreneurial experience, and I am tagging myself to women like you and some of the other women that have come into my orbit as, as mentors and learning and, a passage of, here's what I know, here's what you know, all of it sharing and just building, because we all have important ecosystems and we all need each other for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, we do, and we also need to, um, be creative about how we, like, grow our own businesses and support each other. Um, and not following what everybody else has done, necessarily, but finding new ways to do things and, thinking outside of the box, provoking maybe, perhaps.
There you go. There you go.
So on that note, I just want to say, get on over to provokedmagazine.com, learn all about what Susan is doing, sign up. She will treat you very well in your email inbox. And if you have a story to share, sign up to the Dear Reader platform and keep an eye out because she's doing some amazing things. We spoke a couple of months ago, and this was way smaller than it is now. So it's very impressive with what you're doing. And thank you for coming today and sharing your story. And if you have any comments, questions, ideas, put them in the chat, and we will and tag us. We'll come back and keep the conversation going. And before we go, can you just share a wisdom bomb, something small and actionable people can take with them?
All right. Well, I was thinking about this, and I'm going to be a little provocative here, and it's going to go
Uh,
along to what we already talked about. So, don't confuse intimacy with impact. They both really matter, but they do different jobs. And this is both in your personal life and for all of the women out there I know that you're working with, that and all these collectives that we're part of. If your story never leaves the room, and that's a metaphor, the power doesn't move.
yeah,
If you want to be seen, if you want to be heard, you need to move that power along outside of the room. So,
absolutely. And here's the thing too, before we go. um, People have misconceptions about what visibility actually is. They think it's about being louder, they think it's about being heard, but it's being heard by the right people. It's being true to what you want to share about your life, your experience, what you've done, the impact that you could make. So dig a little deeper. It's not about being an Insta celebrity, it's about really making a difference. And that's what matters. And that's, I believe, aligns
yeah.
very much with Provoked.
Absolutely, absolutely. That just gave me like chills, so that was great. And you're a master at that. You're so good at isolating those kinds of really, powerful ideas. So thank you.
This, as AI gets bigger and bigger and the noise gets louder and louder, it's gonna be our only option to be visible, is to be
Yeah,
different,
yeah.
and we really need to lean into that, and it's more fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
enjoyed being with
you.
you. We should do this on a more regular
Oh, I
basis.
would love that. I would
And
absolutely love that.
I love that, it looks like we had a great audience here
Yeah,
today. And I thank them for spending some time with us, that they thought this was worthy of their time. And
yes,
yeah, come on over to Provoked, hit us up, send me a personal email, Susan@PROVOKEdmagazine.com. I answer all my emails, I answer every message that I get.
yeah.
So
Let's
happy to talk to you, listen to you, be part of
let's
our
yeah,
community.
let's support this because, we're gonna have to ruffle a few feathers to get some things done around here.
Oh, I'm all for it. Let's rumble. Yeah, I don't want to ruffle. Let's rumble.
Yeah, okay, alright, 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 I
Yeah,
take that edit.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, we're outta here. Have a great Wednesday, everybody, and we will be
Amazing.
back with more. Bye. Thank you,
Thank you.
Susan.
Bye-bye.